time for me to catch the wave in this mother sucker. Time to catch the wave.
What was that? I can't hear you.
Time to catch the wave.
Alright, I think I get it now.
Time to catch the wave.
Alright, one more time. I said it's
Time to catch the wave.
and then we gotta bring it on home.
Time to catch the wave.
All right, welcome everybody to episode 10 of Catch the Wave. 10.
Wow.
Yes, this is 10.
That's right. Double digits, bitches.
I'm your host, Clifton. I'm here with Perry Thompson and Dante Powell. And 10 episodes was my original goal, to just be like, if I could get to 10 episodes, I think I could get to 100. And we're here at 10.
Man, it's been fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like 10.
No, man. I mean, it happened real quick. I mean, at this point, we haven't put out 10, but it got 10 in the bag.
Yeah.
By the time the episode's out, it'll be 10 episodes.
Yeah. But thank you guys for being a part of it. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for making us a part of it.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into when you first offered me this, and I'm so happy that I've been able to just keep coming back. This is I look forward to Sundays so much.
Yeah,
Right.
Me too, man. Like,
Right.
today, even more so, because I want to talk comedy. It's just us. We just talk why we got into comedy, what comedy's like for us, and I guess since we all started doing comedy in Iowa, what it's like being a black comic in white rooms. But most of the, for me, especially most of the rooms that I've been performed in my entire career as a comedian has been a white room.
Yeah.
You know?
Same way. I started doing comedy basically because I got sick and tired of racist white people. That's no bullshit. So I was at my job, right? And you know that bit I have about like being a man in disguise, about like, you know, being a black guy, like that came to a head one day at work when I was sitting in a room with my boss, and she was like, "Oh man, you look like that black guy I saw on TV last night. We was watching Lethal Weapon 3 on Netflix, and you look like that one black guy." And then I was like, "Who?" Like, she can't mean Donald Glover. and so I watched it, and I was like, "Oh, Chris Rock." So I was just like, "This racist bitch doesn't know who Chris Rock is."
And she thinks you look like
right.
him.
Yeah, so it's like not only do I not look like him, she can't even remember Chris fucking Rock of all like black fucking celebrities. It's
You were like, I'm gonna show this bitch. I'm gonna do exactly what Chris Rock does.
Well, basically, I was like, I'm gonna show you, bitch. I'm nowhere near as funny as Chris Rock. Dumbass bitch, you're getting black people mixed up and shit.
That happens to me at least once a week. Somebody says either I look like somebody they know. They'll be like, "Wait a minute, you went to high school at East, right?" No, I'm actually from Texas. I'm not even from Iowa. I don't know what you're talking about. But
yeah, this lady at my job, at my current job, she told me that I look like the guy from U.S. Cellular.
Oh God!
I just saw him in another commercial.
Right.
Whoa,
Man,
that's weird.
Yeah, he's killing commercial
right
now.
Hey, if I saw Flo from Progressive in a Subway commercial, I'd be mad. Get back over there, Flo.
She's in a movie. It's the movie with Ben Stiller, and I don't know the name of the movie, but she's in a movie.
Oh boy,
man.
I can't watch it.
You are Flo.
Yeah.
If you're not selling insurance, get out of this movie.
No, right? Where's your white smock, bitch?
Oh man.
Oh man.
For me, my biggest comedic inspiration is Dave Chappelle. Just, you know, but a lot of the things that I watch a lot of Comic View.
Oh yeah, that Comic View made me feel like, oh, I can do that. Because I would just go to school and do the same shit they were doing. Like, they'd be talking about whatever was happening in the world. I would talk about it with my friends and make them laugh.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I could actually do that. And then I remember, I don't know if you guys have ever watched Jamie Foxx's stand-up special, I Might Need Security, but it's just like an hour of fucking killing. Like, he comes out and is immediately...
What does he talk about on that one? Is that
like
where he talks
going
about...
to Africa?
Yeah. He talks about having a threesome.
Yeah, he's doing...
Anybody dick?
Yeah. And he talks about, at one point he talks about shooting Any Given Sunday and LL Cool J fighting him. It's so,
Yes.
I mean, he's got stuff in there about like OJ and Puffy and J-Lo. It's just such a like, I mean, like I said, he just comes out and kills for an hour. And I remember watching it and just being like, oh, I can do that. Like, I would be tagging his jokes for him when I was like 10 or 11, and I was like, oh man, I wish I knew where he was because I could give him this information. And then this is gonna show you how like crazy it is that I even do stand up to begin with. I found out that he was from like Terrell, Texas somehow. Like maybe it was the Jamie Foxx show or something. And we used to go from my hometown in Louisiana to Dallas sometimes, and in order to get to Dallas, you pass through Terrell. And we stop in Terrell sometimes and like get gas. And I thought, oh man, what if one time we stopped to get gas in Terrell, Jamie Foxx is there, he looks into our car, says, I bet that little kid is funny, and takes me on the road and shows me how to be a comedian.
Just kidnaps you from your parents and your family.
I thought it was more realistic that Jamie Foxx would kidnap me and show me how to be a comedian than I could just go to an open mic and start doing comedy. That's how like distant the reality was for me. I didn't know there was a pathway to do it.
You think those R. Kelly bitches are trying to be singers?
Oh no, Barry.
Actually,
This was different. Oh gosh, no.
That's what is happening with him. Yeah.
Jamie Foxx is so much more respectable than R. Kelly. He has an Oscar.
But no, that concept, Dante, I would say that's what stopped me from even pursuing any of the dreams that I had, because I always wanted to be like an actor, comedian, and stuff like that. I actually sent Tyler Perry email when I was in 7th grade to try and get in a Tyler Perry play. He did not respond, of course.
Hey Tyler, just so you know,
right?
I don't even want to be on none of that Madea shit no more.
We out here.
But even the idea of doing it at all was so distant to me.
It seemed so impossible as a kid. It's just like, oh, I can't just go to an open mic. Like, they won't let me get on stage.
My approach to like,
I didn't know they existed.
Honestly, my approach to like everything, including comedy and education, everything is just like, if I'm learning something, I'm learning it so I can apply it myself for my own shit. And that kind of gets you fucked up sometimes because it makes you a bad employee. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, why am I out here working on your dreams? I should be working on my dreams. So it's like, I don't know. Like any time it's like I tried to figure out something about comedy, I made a decision early that it's got to be about my life, just because there's nothing that I'm going to say about anything that any of the greats have already talked about that's going to add anything that they haven't already discovered that's under the sun. Mm-hmm. Unless it's something that happens to me, and maybe that happens to somebody else, and then maybe that makes it relatable. But like, man, it's tough out here, like, you know, coming up with new stuff. Like I was at an open mic just this last week, and there was this guy, and he was there, and it's actually a friend of me and Jeremy Scavo. And Jeremy Scavo was like, man, he has this thing about writing jokes. It's like he made this joke, and I was like, all right, so I'm gonna tag it. It's like, all right, so I'm gonna tag it, but this is what you could do to make this joke funnier, right? So I told him how to do that, and he didn't believe me. So I performed it in front of him one day. So this last open mic, this last Tuesday, someone else who was in the crowd who was there, like, he tried to get up there and perform like the same joke. And I'm just like, man, I would never do that, like, as a comedian. So it's like, I mean, and I just knew, like, way back when Chris Rock and everybody else is doing their shit, it's just like, man, you can't do that.
Yes.
It's like you have to be your own person.
Yeah, like when I'm thinking about stand-up and comedy in general, to be quite frank, it's not worth it to, because when you bomb, it's the worst thing in the world. Mm-hmm. it's not worth it to potentially bomb with somebody else's shit.
Yeah.
If you're gonna mess up, go ahead and do yours. That way you at least know you don't go to bed thinking, "Ah, man, what if I had just been true to myself? Would I have gotten through?" And then when you finally do break through and start killing, it's like, okay, they're responding to me right now.
Right.
To what I think is funny, not
Yeah.
what
My
somebody else
ideas.
thought was funny. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's like you can't. It's like to some extent, it's like you almost can't. At least my approach to it is like I can't do it for other people first. Like somewhere it has to come from me.
Yeah.
So
See, when it comes to me, like I feel like that's one thing that I think sets me back is that I'm always trying to try something new. There are times where I'm like, I remember one time I said that every open mic I go to, I want to try something new. I never want to just not try something new. But there are times where it's like, oh, I do something one time and I never, ever revisit the idea. I never try to redo it because I don't go to open mics that much. So I'll just be like, I'm not going to try to pull that out. That thing that I thought was going to work didn't work at an open mic. And now I'm at a show. I'm going to just try it again right now. Like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Well, but I mean, like I have to do that sometimes because I don't get to make it out to mics as much anymore. So it's like there are some ideas I have where like I'll sit on something for over a year, and then I'm like, wait, let me go back and see what's going on with that. And then like I've given jokes to people and been like, yo, I think this feels more like a you joke. And then they've been like, nah, I don't like it. And then I just tinker with it some more, and it becomes something I do regularly. So
Right.
it's like, for me, when it comes to writing jokes, like I said, I want to be, like, one of my life mottos, I listen to a lot of sports talk radio because I used to be a trucker, and I was just on the road all the time. So I would listen to sports talk, and there's this guy, Colin Cowherd, who has this really cool saying that I like. He always says, like, I don't have to get it right, or I don't have to be right, I just want to get it right. And that's kind of where I am with my stand-up, and it's like my outlook on life now. I've reiterated it in so many different facets that it's just like, I don't have to be right. Like, I don't have to be the good guy in my joke. I don't have to be, like, perfect or anything, but am I getting it right? Am I approaching this joke from the perspective of one, am I being funny? Two, am I being honest? And then, like, three, am I, like, not grasping at low-hanging fruit here? And then if I can cover all three of those, I like to go ahead and move forward with the joke and then try to figure it out. And then, you know, sometimes it lasts, sometimes a joke will stay in what I'm doing for 6 months. Sometimes there are jokes I just wrote my first year doing stand-up within the first couple months that I still do now.
yeah,
Sometimes. But it really just comes down to, like, finding that, like, funniness, that honesty, and then that openness to, like, grow whatever it is that I like trust myself to come up with.
yeah. I was gonna say I was listening to I think it was like either some kind of comedy tutorial or maybe it was like a video stream of like I think what was his name, Ralphie May doing like a talk.
Yeah.
And one of his points that he was making, among other points, was you never really finish writing the joke. If like you think you're finished writing the joke, you're not. And to your point about doing stuff that you did your first year writing comedy, like I can agree with that, but like at the same time, like the joke isn't the same. It's like it starts off in the same place and like the idea is kind of the same.
Yep.
And like the longer I keep telling it, I figure out things where I could add more and more to it. So it's like so now when all I have to do is write like 1 or 2 words on a sheet of paper, and like that becomes like a whole set even by itself, and it's just like a reminder to take me back to that joke that I built on like throughout the years and years, and now it's like this big long story. So it's like, you know, the jokes that I like to tell are the jokes that I can feel great about repeating, because a lot of the times, especially in Des Moines, I mean there's one mic for like 3 years, right? And then now there's 2, and now there's 3, but 2 of them are on the same night.
Yeah.
So it's
There was
like
a golden moment where you could go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
There was.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
short though. It was a short
Right.
time lived. But
Yeah, and well, I mean, and I say all that to say that a lot of times, to what you were saying about wanting to have something new every time, it's like, all right, there's value in the old stuff too, and that's something that I had to like relearn.
Oh yeah.
Is that like, all right, have I explored every funny part of this joke? Because there's a lot of times I'll be up on stage and something will happen, and it's like, oh, okay, I can add this to the joke and keep this kind of thing going, even in a different audience. Like there's this one part in a joke where like I was talking about like fucking a girl with no teeth, and and then like I pointed at an old guy, and he's just like, well, don't knock it till you try it, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, that happened one time while I was telling the joke, and now I just keep doing it because there's always an old guy in the crowd I can point to. So it's like those little things, those little moments you discover just over time of like of redoing it, or maybe even approaching the same thought from a different angle or something. So I don't know.
Well, you get to a certain point and you're comfortable on stage, and you're doing a thing where you're not. Sometimes when you do stand up and you first start out, you become an actor, and you write these lines, and then you go on stage and you recite them. And all that matters is reciting these lines. Yep. And you got these points. The
exact way you want to.
Yep. You got these points where you think a laugh is supposed to go. You got these points where you think a pause is supposed to go. You've got these points where you think you need to take a sip from your beer, and you overthink and overanalyze. And then at some point, at least for me, I just got comfortable, and I was like, oh, I need to just go up here and trust that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Right. And then I started going up and just saying, all right, let's figure it. Like, the last few times I've been at the Funny Bone have been pretty, like, solid weeks with good guys who draw audiences. I haven't written a set list. I've just gone up and, like, played it by ear because I had to trust, like, I'll figure this out. I know what my jokes are. I know that they're good. Let's figure this out. And so I go into it, and I kind of know what works well to open, what works well to close. And because I don't get to go to mics as much anymore, what I kind of have to do is say, are there any new things that I need to work on that I want to build? Let me put those in the middle. That way, if I start out strong, I get their trust. They know that I can be funny. I try the new stuff in the middle. If it goes well, yay, way to go. I got some new stuff. If it doesn't go as well, not a big deal. I know my strong stuff is coming at the end to pull me out of the mess. So, like, it just, if I had never gotten comfortable being on stage and being, like, true to myself, I would have been so stuck in the ideas of, oh, man, I have to get these lines right that I would have just never been, worth anything.
You know, the most, I guess not the most challenging, but, like, the weirdest thing to figure out, like, while it's happening on stage, like, for me, is like, when all your shit's landing. And then it's like, okay, like I'm in the middle of telling these jokes, but like people are laughing so much I can't like. So the first time I ever killed, and I was like, oh shit, I should pause and then talk and say a few words, and like then that was funny, and it was like, man, everything I'm saying is funny, and it's just like, man, getting to that point, because there's been a few times where like I'd done really well on stage, but like I wasn't used to it, so I just kind of rushed it out. And like figuring out that timing of like, getting, once you get the laughs, it's like, okay, now I can kind of take a break, not like a break, like pause, but like just kind of like take your breath,
let that ride out,
right, and then approach it, and then it's a lot more flowy kind of feel to it, and then like once I kind of figured out that. That's when I figured I was like, oh man, I'm ready to go like 20 minutes.
I would say that I'm at a point now where it's hard for me to just do 5 minutes because I like to ease myself into it. I like to give the crowd a little bit of time to like get to know me, feel me out, feel my energy out before I just go right into jokes. Like to just do 5 minutes of jokes, I'm like, well, what jokes do I do? But what are my jokiest jokes where it's just like set up punchline? Like
right.
I remember like the last time I went to a mic, like one of the new guys came up to me and was just like after my set, he was like, is that what you do to get into festivals with? And I laughed. I was like, no. No. I was like, because it felt, I didn't want to be like, just so you know, like I'm a fucking murderer. Like I can't do that. But that, like, it was so strange because he just came with me. He was like, yo, they said you do like festivals and headline stuff, and I was like, I didn't want to be like, yo, I'm here fucking around, because I wasn't. Like, I was trying to like what I was honestly doing was trying to figure out if I needed to put a tag I had been working on at the beginning of the joke or at the end of the joke. And so I kind of wanted to like fuck around up top, see what was what on like a couple things, then like go into the one joke I really wanted to pay attention to, kind of look in everyone's faces when I said the part that I wanted to hit, and then kind of see like, towards the end they did end up getting it, but maybe I should have said the thing earlier. So I just wanted to work on that, and like it was strange that like I had to, again, I always try to preface what I'm saying with like, I get how lucky and blessed I am to be in the position I'm in, but I had to remind myself that like sometimes the shows I get to do are like really big deals, and like I'm grateful for that, but that's a perspective that I'm blessed with. I can't expect everyone else to understand that. So when some new guy comes up to me,
some infidel,
and it's like, yo, that's all it takes, I can't just be like, dude, fuck out of here. Like I have to like genuinely like laugh and go, oh, no. It takes, like, you should have, there were times, like, you should have been here 3 years ago. Like, you missed some very important things. And so it's, because, I mean, it's still, I haven't been to a mic in a very long time, but it still happens fairly regularly when I would go to the mics when I was still able to go. It was like, yo, the new guys were like, why does everyone seem to think this Dante guy is funny? Because he's not good. And I just remember, I think one of the new guys asked me to open for them on something. And I was like, yeah. And then like
they asked you to open for them.
You want to follow Dante?
Oh,
huh?
okay. All right.
So
I'm beginning to have ideas.
Here's another thing. Speaking of like following people, I don't get the like anybody can follow anybody. I think just reset the room. Give it. If somebody goes up and kills before you, hell yeah, man. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like go take
That means
advantage.
people are ready to laugh.
Take advantage of that energy, and so like,
I don't know. Like to that end, it's like, okay, like we're having I don't know. Imagine like a sculpture concert, right? And everybody who's there is in charge of like lumping clay together.
Yeah.
Right. You don't like in you. I'm just gonna say this. You're like a master like builder, like a sculptor of clay, a sculptor of clay, and it's like having you start and then having somebody who's new, who are not saying names to go after you is kind of like. I don't know. It's like kind of like balling up Michelangelo's David into a ball of just fucking dough, basically.
My thing was this: learn that lesson, like figure it the fuck out, because that's the thing that like you get so caught up in comedy sometimes on everything that doesn't matter that the stuff that does matter becomes lost. And it's like, man, if your focus is just to put on a great funny show, then like fine, but like his approach was like, everyone keeps telling me that this Dante guy is good. Let me get him to open for me. Maybe that'll get people out, and then I can get shine from it. And that's why I took the approach of like, oh, this, like, he just doesn't get it, and that's fine. That's totally fine.
That same guy asked someone else to open for him, and it was terrible.
Wait, okay.
Maybe we're not thinking of the same person.
We probably are, but I'm gonna. It's okay.
We won't name names.
I'm not gonna name names.
I'll change the subject.
No. Listen. That's the good thing about text messages is that I can just pull up my text here and like type it in and show you guys, but not.
Yeah. That's exactly who I was thinking.
But no, but it did end up. It ended up coming out that like the guy, like he ended up coming to me and being like, he probably will know. It's okay. Thank you for watching. But it ended up getting back to him like, just so you know, like this guy, he like takes this seriously. He does this for a living. He's a nice enough dude, but like you don't do that. Like, and like I would say the same thing goes for you guys. Not because I think you're better than anyone or anything, but you've earned a certain gravitas to what you're doing that, like, it's hard to explain to new guys sometimes. It's hard to get them to understand the things that I didn't understand, but you want to help them. And so it's like, I don't feel comfortable telling them, like, yo, just so you know, like, these guys have been around for a little bit longer, so maybe trust them on X, Y, Z.
Right.
And don't do X, Y, Z. But they're looking at it like, fuck you. Like, I'm new, I'm hot, I'm figuring this shit out. Like, the world is mine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
More
I don't
power
know.
to 'em.
But it's kind of like guys like, I don't know. Like, I've never seen LeBron James or like Kobe Bryant like practice or even like Allen Iverson or maybe just some guy that's just
Practice?
like
You talking
great.
about practice? Allen
Great.
Iverson, practice?
Right. Practice? We're talking about no, but I've never seen like even like a college level basketball player practice. But I can only imagine that if they were at like a community center and it was a scrimmage, it's like they might dunk sometimes, like if they feel like it, but they're not just gonna go like you know. And maybe if they're having fun, if the moment's right, they'll give a little step, show a little something.
Yeah.
But like they're not just going out and just balling out. And I feel like sometimes like new comics, they're those guys who are at the rec room trying to show off
And
like,
dunk every play,
and
yeah.
dunk every play, and just trying to be like really good in front of people who aren't really watching. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's like, yeah, I'm like one of those basketball players. It's like, oh, okay, you think I'm garbage, but put some money up.
Well, yeah, I still, bruh, the last time I went to LA, I was getting ready for a show at the fucking Hollywood Improv.
Okay.
And
nice.
someone,
Hey.
I'm trying, Barry. I'm getting there. I'm working on it.
Brush that
So,
dirt off the shoulder.
Hey, you know, I'm working, brother. I'm trying. So I'm like getting ready, and I'm like, I did okay, and like someone came up and they were like, "Oh, that's nice. Like, you wanna?" They would offer me, like, "You wanna come do a set at such and such?" And I'm like, "Oh, I can't. I'm gonna be out of town." They're like, "All right." And then like they kind of hit me with another message, and they're like, "Yo, you sure? Cause you know it's gonna be a lot of fun. Give you like $20 and this, that, and the other." And I'm like, yeah, I really appreciate it, but I'm gonna be out of town.
Yeah, I'm not about to miss this flight for a $20 show.
And they're like, then they posted something on Facebook about like skipping open mics, and I was like, I'm not skipping a fucking open mic this Thursday. I'm opening for Margaret Cho, man. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I'm watching Margaret Cho murder a room in a fucking Civil War coat. Like, that was the first time I was ever like, you know the Kanye quote, like, my life is dope and I do dope shit?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's what this feeling
Right.
is. It's like, it's just some dope shit happening. So I was like, I'm not, like, again, I'm not ever looking at my situation and thinking I did anything special to deserve it other than, like, working. But also, like, if I've earned these opportunities, I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of it. So
Yeah, hell yeah.
like, what? Like,
Wow, what?
it was,
Definitely.
yeah, it was just so strange to me that in that moment, I was so concerned about trying to be like nice and cordial and this, that, and the other, when I should have just been like, yo, I'm going to the fucking Hollywood Improv this Thursday, and I can't fucking believe it, so I can't do your show. Like, that would have saved that whole thing.
They're like, oh, yeah. Well, on that note, Dante be stunting on motherfuckers.
Right.
We'll be right back. Shit, man, this is a good conversation. There's so much more I want to talk about. I want to talk about, like, what's your end game? Like, what would be the perfect end game for you?
Ooh, I'm
Man.
down.
All right, and we're back, you know? Still talking comedy. All right, now we are all black comedians who perform in white rooms, And I guess, I don't know, a while back there was like discussion about like, as a black comic in front of a predominantly white crowd, do you talk about blackness? Do you talk about being black? And the way I look at it is like, I'm just gonna do my material. My material sometimes talks about me being black, and that's because I'm black, and I'm just giving you my perspective, and I'm just gonna do my material in front of whoever the crowd is. Like, it doesn't matter who the crowd is. I'm just happy there are people in the crowd, because sometimes I've done some shows where nobody's in the crowd, and that's depressing. So I'm gonna do my act no matter what.
Right.
I literally tell my same jokes everywhere. I've done like hood ass rooms in Kansas City and Little Rock. I've done like coffee shops in Denver. Like I've been like, I just tell the jokes. I trust that the material is gonna work, and I just have to. I'm in a huge Facebook argument right now. And
wait. Before you do that, let me set it up for you. So Dante,
we're definitely putting this picture in the back of this.
Right. So Dante decided to go out somewhere and show his big ass and go like this in front of a sign that said bigger, and his hand is covering the B, so it just looked like thumbs up NIGGER. All right, now Dante, go ahead.
All right, so I'm in a Facebook thing, and like I was just talking, like there was an accusation or like an indication that someone thought I was like cooning, and I'm like, you have to understand that, like, for me, when you say that to me, like, I'm the guy that, like, I had a guy nervous that I wasn't gonna make it home because I walked the guy at the show who was mad because I was talking shit about Trump and like not letting white people off the hook. So like, I'm in middle of nowhere, Iowa, probably the only black person within 20 miles, telling these jokes, like speaking truth to power, like trying to like really drive these points home. And then the guy's paying me after the show, like, yo, do I need to walk you out of the kitchen? Like, I think I need to walk you out the kitchen because that guy's like kind of crazy. And I'm like, I don't ever live from a place of fear. So it wasn't a thing for me. I was like, no, I'm going to walk to my fucking truck like an adult. Like, I don't care if that guy's out there. If he's going to deal with me, I can deal with him. And so, like, if I'm going to do that, why would I, like, because that sort of person is not upset. Like, they're upset by something else. So they're going to be that angry no matter what. I might as well not compromise who I am to make them happy. And so, like, it's the thing that trips me out is when people are like, yo, do you do that same material in black rooms, as if black people aren't intelligent? Yeah. As if they think I'm somehow, I consider myself so highbrow that black people won't understand the dumb shit I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And it's like, one of my favorite weekends I've had doing stand-up was working with Godfrey in Kansas City, because it was such a black experience. Mm-hmm. And we went to the Negro League Museum and we ate soul food and we like hung out and like did shit, but we also performed in front of 450 black people every night, sometimes 2 or 3 times a night. And I got to kill and I got to watch him kill. And it wasn't pandering to us. It was just us being around other black people, having a good time, being funny. And I think about that all the time, because like I've had white comics from Des Moines be like, yeah, you do well here, but you know, if you ever get in front of a black crowd, they're gonna eat you up. Like they're somehow more qualified to perform a black room than I am. And I'm like, you don't even know, like I watched a lady like leave the room because she like was laughing so hard. Like you can't ever tell me I can't perform for my people. Like that just isn't gonna fly with me.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the thing, like, I don't know, we talked about this before, but like that's part of the reason why I wanted to bring...
On the episode that never was.
Right.
We talked about it for 30 minutes and lost it.
Oh, man.
Well, so, I mean, that's part of the reason why I wanted to bring, like a black room in Des Moines, Iowa, because, like, there's so many, like, there's a lot of black people out here, but there's not really that much marketed towards black people out here. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, all right, we got this Juneteenth celebration, like, every black person from all around comes out to this thing. All right, so like let's see about getting all these black people out here together to do a comedy show. So it's like all black performers, and for like an audience that we're inviting black people to. Everybody can come to it, but obviously, we want to invite people who usually feel like there's nothing out there for them to have something out there for them in our area, and I think it's a great opportunity to do that too. But I mean, so my first time performing in front of a black room was in Atlanta, and it is different performing in front of a black room to a point, but like when I was performing in front of like in like a college town, like it was like I could connect with people because I'm still kind of like in their age group. Mm-hmm. Like it was more difficult for me to perform in front of like old black people because it's like I'm not an old black person yet. So.
Right. But like that's the thing. So I do a joke where I say I think that Donald Trump is just Tyler Perry and whiteface. And this black lady in Kansas City, like that's when she lost her shit. She like stood up and like started walking out like it was an old black lady, and I was like, I've never been more proud. I was like, hey, sit down, get back in here. No, you don't get to like I got to really play up that situation, and like again I don't know, man. For me, there's something about growing up in Louisiana that makes it so that like living in Iowa is never going to I can't be one of those guys who lives here and has to do so under the like silent agreement that I'm going to make white people comfortable.
Right.
Like one of the things I'm doing here is like I'm going to make you uncomfortable. I'm not going to shut up about race. Like the show I was telling you guys about, I saw that guy walk and like kind of stare back at me, and I made sure to like, okay, this is so when he got up to leave, that was him saying, I'm gonna swing dick on you. And I was like, no, I'm gonna stare you down as you fucking walk out, because I can swing dick right back. And if that's all this is, then like fine, let's let that be that. But the fact that he had all those other people in that room afraid, and I stared him down and like dealt with it, I think that's where the connection lies is, okay, this guy is living in his truth and he stands behind it, so he means it, and he's being honest with us. And we may not agree on the perspective, but damn it, there's something about someone being like, that's why the blue collar comedy guys, when you're Larry the Cable Guy, you're not going to do as well in a black room as, say, a Jeff Foxworthy would, because Jeff is just up there being honest. He's telling you it's a little hacky and, like, the shtick has gotten old, but when he's talking about you might be a redneck, that's something we all know. Like, that's something we can all identify with. Yeah. And so he could do well in a black room because he is just honest. And that's what I strive to do is just be good enough that it doesn't matter. You could put me in a Chinese room, and I hope that I would get the laughs that I'm accustomed to getting.
I mean, as long as they spoke English.
Even if they didn't, I hope that like, I hope that the translator like figured it the fuck out.
Be like at Wu-Tang concerts, and whatnot, like for the for like deaf people and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're like, yo. Could you imagine that for like comedy? Like, it's like would the jokes even land the same?
I wanna get to the point where I walk out on stage and people start passing out like when Michael Jackson used to perform.
Okay, so in comedy, what would be like your ultimate goal? For me, I want to have a cartoon on Adult Swim. That's what I want. Like, when I first started even writing comedy, I was writing like a cartoon. That's what I started writing, and then I started writing jokes to hit the stage.
Okay.
So I would ultimately, I want to write a cartoon for Adult Swim.
When I was a kid, I never really knew what I wanted to be, but I knew I wanted to be some kind of storyteller. Like, it didn't matter to me if I was going to be making comic books, and so I like learned how to draw, or if I was going to be like, making movies or TV or something like that. I wanted to be some kind of storyteller. So I think if I ever made anything and produced it, like something I wrote, whether it be comedy or like a drama or whatever that is. Like, I just want to create art in that sense. So,
Yeah.
I want to I want to like consistently just be good. Like I want to tour theaters. I want to be able to know that I can go to any city in the country of like with a reasonable population and sell, 1,000 to 5,000 seats, and that people like are respecting what I'm saying. Like they may not agree with it, but they like understand that it's funny and like from a genuine place. So like, like the Kevin Hart thing is fun and looks cool, but like I want the like current, and like Chappelle is the easy answer because like he does it, but I mean even like a Cedric the Entertainer type thing where like if Cedric is coming to town, he'll sell out the Funny Bone 2 or 3 shows in a row, but he'll get 1,000 people to come see him.
Yeah.
This reminds me of a post I saw earlier, and it was like, whose career would you rather have, like Dave Chappelle or Kevin Hart?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for me, it's like, man, nobody respects Dave Chappelle like black people. Like, I don't know. Like, I would love that.
Some black people don't respect Dave Chappelle.
I think they're in a minority, but like, I think that for the most part, people respect Dave Chappelle, and I think that there was a lot of people out there who, at some point in his career, was like, oh, he's one of those pandering ass guys or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And he's doing his thing. And when he got his shot, it was like, oh, okay, now y'all gonna see Dave Chappelle, and he was anything but pandering.
Yeah. It's so, because I've been in a bunch of like all I've been doing this week pretty much is arguing on Facebook. I gotta write some jokes. No, so I was talking about this guy Nick DiPaolo. He's got a new special out. And it seemed like I watched
that poster, and it was ridiculous.
The Black Lives Matter one, where he's like,
yeah, and so like it's one of those things where like this guy has done comedy for a very long time, and like he is a good comedian by comedic standards, but this special isn't good. It's like he's too focused on being offensive, so much so that he loses so much funny. To me. I should clarify that. To me, I don't think it's very funny what he's doing. Yeah. Because
there's a trend like right now in comedy where I feel like people just want to be offensive instead of like being funny. People just want to offend people.
I think that people think that there's so much of comedy that is truth telling, and I think that is where if someone is telling you their version of the truth and it's like a thoughtful. Like, and what I mean thoughtful, I mean like they really drilled down the thoughts and like went into some depth about where their position is, and like then that became a ridiculous thing that they made on stage. Like that is funny, but like people going up on stage and just saying like hot button stuff just to get a reaction from the crowd, so that people will click on their thing to say like, oh, look what this asshole said, let's talk about it. It's like, It doesn't have any substance, and I think that it's reckless in a way. It's reckless because there's no meaning behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you believe it, like if you don't like black people, or if you don't like women, or like relationships, or marriage, or abortions, or whatever, say your piece about it. I mean, and acknowledge the fact, maybe you're wrong or whatever like this, but this is what I'm thinking about. Yeah. And it may be ridiculous, but this is where my thought's coming from, because then even if you're maybe offended from it, you've given enough of your idea and your thought process to be like, all right, I'm not just saying, fuck this group of people. It's like, here are my thoughts.
But what you do when you do that is you're not, like the thing with Nick's special, as I'm watching it, and I'm going, you're not saying the thing you feel, you're saying the thing that you think is going to rile people up. And that's not, like, it's not going to rile me up anymore when you try to make a black joke and the punchline is the guys should have pretended to be smoking Newports and poured grape Kool-Aid on me. Like, it just does, because it's been done to the point that it's been overdone.
Like
low-hanging fruit.
So like, for me, when people were telling me, they're like, yo, Nick DiPaolo's been doing this for 30 years. And I'm like, but so has Cedric. And if you look at his last special, it's still just as original and like genuinely silly and funny as anything else. And he's got some stuff in there that if you skew liberally, you probably don't agree with, but it's still rooted in being funny, and he still finds the funny. Whereas when you're looking at something and you're going, let's see, how am I gonna fucking piss off black people? Then that's your only purpose. And then when you try to find the thing, let me piss off black people, and then find the funny in that, it's see-through. I can see that your point wasn't to be funny. Whereas if you're trying to be funny and then you say, oh, I think this may piss off black people, well, if it's still funny, go ahead and say the thing and then try to figure it out potentially. But don't, like, again, when you're starting from the place of malice, all you see is like an angry old dude in fucking jeans and a like fucking shirt and tie. And again, to me, it didn't work. And that, again, that's fine. If you like it, enjoy it, whatever. But I wouldn't want that career for anything. I wouldn't want the career where I have to do, where I'm having to pander to anyone. If I had to, even if I was doing it the other way liberally, I wouldn't. Like, I had the same thing to say about Nanette. I was not a fan of that.
I applaud if you even watch the special in the first place, because when I saw the poster for it and it was like, oh, he's fucking a mob, flipping his bird off to a mob, and I was just like, oh, okay, they're picketing, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever, I guess he's going against the grain. And I saw somebody's shirt that says Black Lives Matter, and I was like, oh, wait a second. I was like, you could have made that poster without that shirt saying that, and it made it so that it wasn't just him going against the grain. Now it's because he puts Black Lives Matter. Yeah. Right now it becomes I'm against black people, and let me show this. Like I'm very.
How can you really
adept.
say "fuck you" to Black Lives Matter?
Well,
like fuck that.
And my thing is, like, I'm very adept to like subtle imagery, and so it's like I don't let any of that shit go. So like I may be like on some conspiracy level shit or whatever. Not about this specifically, because it's very clear like what he's actually saying when you're pointing your middle finger at like
Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Oh, so you don't care about Black Lives.
Right,
okay,
exactly.
Cool.
He could have just whited out the shirt, and it could have just been like him saying, I'm going against the grain in a very general sort of way. Like, but no, he made a very like thoughtful like gesture to do that, and I don't know, like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I can't support it.
Then when he got called out, because the image he used was of a protester who had actually been murdered later on. He then like apologized and got it changed. So like if you go look at the poster now, that guy isn't on it with the Black Lives Matter shirt anymore. It's now like someone else. I think like a Muslim or something. I don't know, but it like again it
something. What else can I do to offend people?
But I mean like that, so like I have a lot of friends who are saying, well, you're doing. That's all he wanted was for you to be talking about his special, and I'm like, I don't think so. I think he wanted people to like it and to think he was funny and taking on the left and being funny about it. But if I can guarantee you that when my album comes out, if what people are talking about is how liberal I am, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be fucking bummed, because I want you to be talking about how funny my jokes are.
Right.
And so, like, yeah, some people do hold to the fact that they're like, no, this is what he wants. He just wants attention. He wants the hits. He wants people to watch. He wants you to talk about it. And I'm like, I bet you part of him wants people to adore his art, and I don't see people doing that in the way that you would think someone would have folks doing it if they were a 30-year vet.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm just sick of the what do you call it, the shock jock radio approach to comedy. It's like, all right, man. Listen, there's enough things that happen in a day that's offensive that you could talk about without like going for, okay, let's just say fuck black people because they represent the left. It's like, no, we like, honestly, like there's so many black people out there and we're not all liberal. It's like, what is this thing where it's like we aren't liberal, or like, or one thing I hate that they do is like they make black people seem like we're unpatriotic. And in my mind, I feel like black people are the most patriotic people in the fucking world. Because if you think about the guys who went out there in World War II, they went out there and shot a whole bunch of Nazis and blew up a whole bunch of Japanese ships and all
came
the other
back
shit.
and had to use the
right,
black bathroom.
right,
Had to go into the back of the restaurant.
Right, they fought for that shit, and they still put their hands over their fucking chest, and when the anthem comes up, and they'll be like, well, you know, blah 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 blah, like, you know, patriotic shit, and they'll be like, yo, y'all, why do so many people think that black people's position is just left? It is simply the campaign on its face value is stop killing us. There's nothing liberal or conservative about just stop shooting me. It's like, what? Oh, you fucking softy liberal or like whatever. Like, that's the shit that pisses me off about like what's his name? The whole Fox News crew fucking.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson.
I don't even know they have over there anymore.
Right, exactly. Some of the most racist people got fired, but they still got Hannity and a couple other people. But like
Laura Ingraham.
Right. Yeah. That one blonde bitch. Tommy fucking what's her name?
Lauren.
Yeah.
Tommy Lauren. I didn't know she was at Fox now, but damn.
I think she's a contributor at some times.
Oh boy, bless her heart.
Yeah. Anyway, but I don't know, man. Like that kind of shit right there, like, is stupid, and I don't think that there are enough people out there really talking about it. It's like, listen, like you're not just gonna get black people with some let's expand welfare shit. It's like, what? There's more black people out here that are conservative than I like. Honestly, like I ain't fitting about to go vote no goddamn Republican, but like I know there's lots of black people out there who just do not like liberals, Obama, or Hillary. So like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. So, in comedy, Dante, I'm pretty sure you're not apologetic at all on stage. You will never apologize.
I'm trying to think. I may have apologized for some stuff earlier. I try not to. Like I'm trying. At the core of what I'm saying, I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying to tell you that this has, like, I found some humor in this, and so, like, yeah, for the most part, I tend to be unapologetic. Again, I'm not above apologizing if I fuck something up, but again, if you can't come to a comedy show and understand that I'm trying to be funny, I feel like that says more about you than me.
Yeah, I have apologized on stage too many times. I've gotten off stage before, and Tim Overton, he was like, you know what? You apologize too much. Like, you should stop doing that. Like, you don't need to apologize to the audience for being yourself. I just, like, I know I'm gonna offend, or I hope I don't offend, but sometimes when I look into the sea of, I'm the only black person in the room, I think I'm about to offend somebody.
Man,
in this room.
like,
I
think sometimes people appreciate that shit. At least in the shows that I've done, especially like when I've gone out to like Middle Iowa and there's like one black person in the whole room. They enjoy the part at the end where they just wish they could tell all their white friends in the audience. It's like, hey, stop doing that. It's like, hey, stop telling me that I look like somebody you saw on TV. It's like, maybe that I don't look like them at all. And maybe it just sounds like you're saying I look like the last white person you saw on TV. It's like, so like maybe like if my jokes and comedy can do that for people, I mean, I don't know, maybe somebody's gonna call it cooning or something because like I make fun of the whole like premise and idea, but I mean, where is that line? Where is that line to say, all right, I'm gonna talk about some shit, and it's like I don't want to just be so angry with it because after all it's a comedy show that like people lose it or whatever, like the point is missed or whatever. So it's like being that and making that aspect of it entertaining while also having a message behind, hey, stop being an asshole. Might be there. I mean, and I don't necessarily consciously think, oh, I'm gonna write comedy with a message, like with a little rainbow and a star at the end of it. Like, but
the more you know.
Right, exactly. It's like I'm not trying to really educate people either. it's just, you gotta talk about your experiences,
Yeah.
right? And it has to come
Absolutely.
from a real place. And it's like, I'm a living, breathing person. I am in a predominantly white area. Like, I live and work and shop and everything else around people. And when Tyler Perry movies come out, I see it with mostly white people because that's who's in the fucking theater. it's like, so there's always is going to be this thing about, like, being, the one guy in that particular situation. So, like, I could understand how people who grow up in a situation different from what I'm talking about could maybe see it as pandering or cooning, I guess, just because, like, I know that they have a different perspective. But I don't know, man. It's like, I'm gonna write my jokes and I'm just gonna try to be funny. And believe me, if I ever go up on stage and I feel like something isn't funny, it won't be said too many more times. Like, I mean, and that's one thing that I try to make sure that I do is like listen and be present and understand, all right, if this isn't funny, like, this is, maybe something needs to get worked out. And
I'll never say that again.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Because again, like I mentioned earlier, it sucks to fucking bomb. It sucks to not do well. So if you think it's not gonna work, like, doing it again is like, you're just so, like, have you ever, this is bad. Have you ever been, like, in the middle of a bomb and you just think to yourself, like, you know what? This is definitely not them. They're right. Like, I'm not doing whatever it is I need to be doing. And then, like, later on, you're in a bomb and you're like, oh, this is definitely them. Like, I know as a comic, I can't blame the audience, but, like, that was, I did that joke the way it was supposed to be done. They're a smart enough audience that they should have gotten it. This is on them. And then, like, afterwards, people come up and they're like, oh, man, you were so good. And you're like, well, I couldn't fucking tell. And it's
Right.
like, it's because you were connecting with them in a way that they were like, they were listening to what you were saying as just like
The gospel.
general, honest perspective that you found humor in. But they're like, oh, shit, no, this is actually very true. Like, it's just an interesting dynamic to, like, see play out. And then they come up to you and they're like, oh, my God, I loved it so much. And then they're, like, quoting jokes back to you and, like, dying laughing. And you're like, well, like, I want that adoration through laugh. Like, it's fine and dandy that you're going to buy my merch and, like, you're going to go tell them to bring me back here. That's great. But, like, next time, I want the laughter. Like, it's not enough for you to tell me I'm good. Tell me I'm good by showing me via laugh. And, again, when you get that, being apologetic just isn't really an option then, because it's like, no. My purpose was to come up here and connect with humor, and I'm obviously doing that.
Right. I've also learned that you can't always make everyone laugh all the time. Sometimes, like, you have to make some people laugh, and then, like, have things in your material that are probably going to make different sets of people laugh, and try to hit as many of those notes as possible on a rotating basis. Like, one, I guess, hacky thing to do, I guess, if we're going to talk about it, is like the men versus women jokes. Oh, I say something against men, now I got to say something against women. So that way it's like, all right, now, the guy, the boyfriend, the husband, they're laughing. Now the wife, the girlfriend, whoever is laughing. So I don't know. It's hard trying to play that balance though. Like, one thing that I try to do sometime is like, okay, like when I'm writing a joke, all right, like, what if I'm wrong? Like, in my whole process and that thought process.
Yep.
Like, so, like, I'll go down this wild and weird path, and it's like I get the audience on my side, and then like, I'll spin it and be like, okay, I was wrong. Just because, like, it's a way to kind of be like, all right, I'm not always right all the time, and then, like, I'll tell something and now I'm right. So, I don't know. I think being that honest can give people a chance to give yourself a little bit of credibility, because it's like, okay, I'm not just gonna sit up here and preach and, like, try to be funny. I mean, I think that that's a line as well, like, that you have to cross between just having fun up on stage and going up there and telling the truth without sounding like you're on top of a soapbox. Trying to get reparations and shit through comedy.
One random bar at a time.
Right.
Ain't that how it goes?
They don't pay what you owe.
Pay what you owe. We'll be right back. Peace. All right. This has been a good discussion. What up? You just watched the 10th episode of Catch the Wave ever recorded. Man, it felt good to get together on Sundays and record this podcast with Perry and Dante and all the dope guests that we had. When I started this podcast, I just wanted to have more conversations with people and get creative with people, and it's really brought a lot of new creative endeavors in my life. We got a lot of backlogs, so we're going to keep putting these out on Friday. There'll be another episode next Friday at 11 a.m. Please watch that. Please follow Black Irish Streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. We're going to try to get more active. If you have anything that you want to say to us, please say it on Black Irish Streams or any of our other, social media pages. As always, I hope you caught the wave, felt the vibes. Peace.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thanks a lot for giving me your time. Your time. Your time. Thanks a lot for giving me your time. Thank you. Goodbye. Thanks a lot for giving me your time. Your time. Your time. You can loved, you are loved, because you are love. You can love, and you are loved, because you are love.